Yes, let's have a look at this telephone here. I found it at a dumpster diving. And yes, it looks pretty old. We got this programmable. I can actually dial in the number and you can save it. This has an external power supply because it can't just use the 48 volt at the telephone connector. It needs to have a little bit more current because the 48 volt at the telephone line does not have that much power delivery, or the current in it is too much limited. So got the external 18 volt power supply. It looks pretty old. It's a Nitsuko, probably made in Japan or something like that. We will see in a minute. Here we got its phone number here. And yes, I plugged it in. It's pretty dim display there. It's a VFD, vacuum fluorescent display. And yes, push this, you can actually dial in some numbers. This is just the membrane switches, but it sounds like there's a relay inside of it, so it's maybe a relay inside of that. And it makes strange noises. And maybe you can calculate something with this as well. So yes, we got some minus, plus, positive, equal to, divided by, times, AC. And yes, so you can actually write or calculate something with this. Again, maybe use that as a calculator. It got a pretty large handset with screws. That's pretty odd today. Today just like glued together. And you can see here the plastic is much brighter here. It's kind of yellowish here. And if you have a look on the back here, you can see some switch here. It says LMH, like low, medium, high. We got some on-off switch here. And in front here we got a potentiometer, maybe for a volume. And yes, it's in here is some kind of like a microphone or a buzzer. And yes, and this feet here is just pretty bad shape. So yes, before I take it apart, let's have a look at the display just. Let's push some random buttons. It finds out that there is no line to connect to. And we've got this relay clicking sound. It's checking the line if there's anything there. Yes, I removed the screws from the handset. And yes, it's like it clicked together. Yes, here we go. Yes, we got our 4 wires there. 2 white wires, 1 black, 1 red. And the microphone and the speaker looks pretty the same. Maybe I'll use the same unit, because you can actually use a microphone as a speaker and the speaker as a microphone. So yes, here are both units. They are exactly the same. DH26, and there are 2 of them. And yes, there's a brand, I don't know really what this says. Made in Japan, of course. And you can remove these and take them out of the casings. So yes, they are pretty heavy, but they are the same thing. So yes, now let's take apart this main unit here. If we flip it around, here's a power inlet here. We've got an earthing pin as well. Got 3 screws holding it together. So here you can see some dates as well, and it's made in Japan. Date double T 985, so 1985 I think. It's pretty vintage. And here's the seller. So we're in Helsinki. If it lift the bottom up, or maybe I can flip it around. It's a bit better to do this way. And here we got the interesting things. So yes, there are pretty many components inside of this. Nowadays this is just like a little circuit board. So yes, this is pretty nice. Look at that. We got the main input here from the telephone line. What looks like it. It goes to this full bridge rectifier. There's a rectifying if the 48 volt to get the polarity right, if it's flipped. And some of the signal goes as well through these MOVs here. We got the capacitor, got some relays, got something that looks like an optocoupler here, 2 transformers, some custom made circuits here. What this looks like a main processor. It's crystal, and maybe some kind of memory around it. Some 4000 series CMOS here. And we got some more transformer. We got a backup battery here. We got some small coin cells batteries here as well. We got the buzzer. We got a microphone. And we got this potentiometer for volume control. We got something that looks like a regulator. Got these 2 micro switches. You don't see the other one. Here now you can see both of them. Here are 2 micro switches for the handset. And here on the other side you can see the matrix connected push buttons here. With a speaker, 32 ohms. And up here we got the vacuum fluorescent display driver and the display itself. We got some wires here, maybe 8-bit to that. And over here on the main circuit board, the potentiometer here. And here you got some jumpers. They look like this. And you can actually reprogram this or do different programs. It says in the manual, I think, how you should connect these jumpers. Here you can see next to the CPU here we got the ICM7206. That's the tone encoder for a line. It detects what the code or a tone is. Because of every button you push, this is a different tone. And the chip here, HD140220 BP, that's the binary counter. Yes, here's the most interesting chips here. These are these 2 here. Micro PA2004C. These can handle up to 60 volts and 0.3 amps on each channel. I think it has like 7 channels, like the datasheet says. And this drives the vacuum fluorescent display. Like we can see, this one is directly connected to the pins to the display here. And those are nothing special, they are just like amplifiers. There are no processing in there, they are just connected to this chip here. At the low voltage, like 5 volts, goes into here and can switch that to up to 60 volts. That's the maximum. I think it's just like 18 volts from the power supply. But we got some transformers here, so it's maybe setting it up a bit so you can drive the vacuum fluorescent display with it. Let's have a look at the display itself. I removed the screws here. Yes, we got pretty many things here actually. I thought to see less things here. But here we got the main driver chip. It's a NEC D552C 082. We got a boost converter on a completely separate circuit board. And we got this large chip here with a lot of resistor network at the sides. The capacitors are rated 35 volts. The input capacitor here is rated 16 volts. And on the display here we got 12 characters and some different symbols here, like a phone on the top here, some microphone here, some like a handset and a special code. I don't know what that is. It looks like a remote actually. Some strange symbol there. There's the nipple that have sucked all the air out. And up here and over here we got the getter to take any residual air that's left inside of it. Now if I have a look at the buttons here, there's ordinary, looks like a matrix connected, as you would see. There is plastic, or something like silicon looking plastic here with this graphite paddings here that can actually push against these contacts. Looks actually gold plated. So here's the back to this main circuit board here. There's the wires to the push buttons. And here you can see a bunch of like what looks like diodes. Yes, they are like ordinary diodes, no Zener diodes. And here you've got like some kind of it says RAM here, maybe it's a RAM actually. I thought it was like a encoder for these push buttons. So yes, they're nice. This is the RAM for the CPU, and here's the oscillator. I thought it was an encoder. Here's the counter. We got the TA2 and here's the TA1. Those I don't know really. It was a 60 volt amplifiers. So I thought they used this for a driver for a vacuum fluorescent display, but now they're using it for something else. Maybe these are what gives out the tones to the telephone line. They take the little voltage from this CPU and use it for a 48 volt bus here to create this ripple frequency on the telephone line. So yes, it looks like actually like a very good quality product, but there is one little thing that I don't like with this, and this is, what do you do if you get a cable damaged? Because there are no connectors. You actually need to take this apart, get yourself another exactly the same handset, so you can connect it into a circuit board here. Otherwise you need to cut the cable and solder on the wires. And of course you need to bust open the case for the handset as well for finding out which wire that goes where. And the same thing with the wire that goes to the wall. We got no connector there. Wires are directly connected to a circuit board like this. So that's a bit disappointing. And here we got this part. This is a power inlet here. And the earth pin that we saw beside it, it's connected to absolutely nothing. If I have a look on the battery compartment here, we flip it around like this. Here we got the batteries. I've never seen this battery marking or the battery with this brand. And we got a nice battery holder. Got this 9 volt connector here with leaking batteries, of course. Yummy. And these are rechargeable batteries, nickel cadmium. So yes, a little bit poisonous actually. And so here we got the 3 coin cell batteries. Now all the information will be lost. And I removed them and they like jumped all over the place. Are they rechargeable? LR44 made in Japan. Nothing else is written on them. They're a bit swollen, so I think they're actually empty. But otherwise it's a pretty good unit. Good quality unit. Thanks for watching.